Somewhere the way we are coping with stress in our life is not healthy.
So what is this entire myth around men and mental health, and what is your take on it?
The severity of mental illness is very high in men, and when I see a lot of men during my consultations, they haven't spoken to anybody for a very long time or never expressed their emotions.
Is it fair to assume that urban India would be facing more mental health issues?
Certain kind of mental health concerns, especially anxiety and depression, that we see more in the urban India.
In the corporate world, Dr. Rupika, have you seen that there are some specific mental health issues?
Absolutely, yes. That hustle culture is something that is making us not remain in the present. The whole spectrum of depressive conditions with all severity, both in men and women.
So how do you suggest one approaches the conversation with that person that you need to seek help?
It has to be very non-judgmental.
Do you think everyone needs a therapist? Good evening, everyone. This is Khushbu Agarwal, founder at Zyla Health. On the occasion of World Health Day, it's my real pleasure to welcome you to this very important podcast related to mental health. We'll talk about mind matters, mental health in the modern world. To facilitate this podcast with conversations with Zyla, we have the pleasure to be hosting with us today Dr. Rupika Dhurjati, a leading psychiatrist in Gurgaon practicing with Narayana Health. Welcome, Dr. Rupika. It's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you, Khushbu.
Dr. Rupika has trained from Lady Hardinge Institute and also CIP Ranchi. She's also later done her certifications from the very prestigious NIMHANS and AIIMS. Today, we'll be unlocking the myths around mental health, making it really simple, impactful, and real life. So, Dr. Rupika, for our audience, to make it very interesting and engaging upfront, I would love to ask you a few questions like we always do on Conversations with Zyla. This is a rapid fire round, so you answer in yes or no.
Okay.
Shall we start?
Yes.
Great. So the first one is social media worsens mental health.
Maybe.
Anxiety can cause stomach issues.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. Therapy is only for those with serious problems.
Not at all.
Sleep is the most powerful antidepressant.
Absolutely, yes.
Psychiatric medications are addictive.
No.
You can inherit mental illness.
Maybe.
Gaming can cause addiction and mental disorders.
Not always.
Alcohol helps relieve anxiety.
Sometimes.
Postpartum depression is rare.
Not at all.
Men rarely face mental health issues.
Not at all.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Rupika, and many a myths busted there, many a new learnings there for our audience. We'll deep dive right in on these important aspects that we just covered, and we'll keep it very holistic. We'll cover both, all genders. We'll talk about different aspects of life to make it as simple as possible for our audience. For our amazing audience joining us today, thank you for logging in. I'll request you all to please keep posting your questions in the chat section. We have our expert team that will keep addressing these, and we'll also try to pick a few for Dr. Rupika on the show. Thank you. So, Dr. Rupika, now just covering aspects of what is really the reason of this mental health issue rising day by day in India. And I'm glad that people are actually recognizing it and professionals like you are working on it. But do you think there is a change in the hustle culture, or, digital world itself has brought in this entire concept of notifications being always connected, which leads to higher anxiety? Do you think that the modern life itself is, an impact factor there?
That is a very important question, and I'm glad you asked me that. There are a lot of factors here that we need to consider. Absolutely, yes, that hustle culture is something that is making us not remain in the present. And we are somewhere 10 years in the future thinking about what we might do, what we want to do, which car, which house, how we want to live. But we are not in the present. And that is what social media or the multiple apps that we have on the phone, very easy to access and very effortless to see. And when we go on scrolling on them, we are not speaking to the person in front of us. We are not we are not understanding our own emotional state at that time. We are just distracted and we are passively consuming things which we don't even want to consume. It's not intentional at all. And that puts us in a place where we are high risk at, something called addiction, where we keep on doing things which give us that hit and keep us hooked, but we are not really enjoying things in the present, and we are not with our family, not enough quality personal time or family time. So that is soup for mental illness.
Okay. So what you're saying then, Dr. Rupika, is it fair to assume that urban India would be facing more mental health issues than non-urban India?
Certain kind of mental health concerns, especially anxiety and depression, that we see more in the urban India, mostly because of the kind of lifestyle that we now have, where we are not able to give enough time for our own selves, and we are just planning and distracting ourselves and numbing ourselves down to achieve our goals. So that not being in the present moment is what is impacting us a lot. It's not all kinds of mental illness, but there are a good subsection which are increasing in urban India right now.
Got it, got it. And just before we move to the next segment, Dr. Rupika, I'm curious to know, what is the most common types of illness that you see in your practice?
We see a lot of anxiety disorders and the whole spectrum of depressive conditions with all severity, both in men and women. In adolescents, I see a lot of difficulty with exams, exam-related stress, difficulty in relationships, coping with stressors in their life. And substance use is something we see a lot right now. And substance, again, is a form of coping, the way you deal with a stressor in your life. And that puts me to point that somewhere the way we are coping with stress in our life is not healthy.
Got it. And we'll cover all the tips that you'll share with our audience. Just before that, I'm also curious, Dr. Rupika, on roughly the age split of the population you see, just to help understand, who's mostly at risk.
I see mostly individuals from 16 to 60.
Okay.
And mostly late adolescents to adults.
So what you're saying is it's impacting all age groups.
Yes.
With diverse sort of problems.
Even younger and older. I mean, what I'm saying is that I don't see more of them, but the prevalence has increased over time.
Got it.
And younger kids are experiencing more of the way they experience anxiety and depression is very different from how adults experience it. They might experience abdominal symptoms, stomach aches, and headaches. And those are also very common and frequent, and they end up missing school because of that.
Got it. So, Dr. Rupika, you covered a very important point on symptoms, and given, a lot of our audience will also lie in the 25 to 45, 50 age bracket, what are the most common symptoms they should be aware of and understand that that's when they need to seek help?
Okay, that's a very good question again. So some of the common symptoms which lot of us would be experiencing, but we end up seeing general physicians for it, and eventually they get referred to us. Not maybe all of them need treatment, but they are indicators that you need to be more aware of something not being okay and that your body is stressed right now. First is that your sleep is not okay. Sleep is the biggest indicator, and I keep telling it every day that if you're having difficulty falling asleep, 15 to 30 minutes once you hit the bed, if you're still not asleep, that means your brain is either overactive, it's not able to shut off. So overthinking, thinking about whole of the day or planning future, like I said. Interrupted sleep, nightmares, increased dreams, waking up early, all these are signs of something stressing your brain out. Second most common symptoms are body aches and headaches, which again are indicators that your body is not feeling okay. Fatigue often accompanies that, low energy levels. Then hair loss is something a lot of people experience during this time. Weight gain, weight fluctuations. Sometimes thyroid or other endocrine disorders are also going hand in hand with this. Then anxiety and irritability. In the form that we are snapping at things which would absolutely be trivial, which you might not have reacted at in your usual state, but you might just not be, your child might be playing in front of you and you are just not connected with him. You are just not involved with what they are doing and you are somewhere else, and suddenly they keep asking you to play with them and you snap out at them. That kind of irritability is something that happens when your brain is exhausted and you need to do something about it.
Very, very well said. Thank you for making this so real, Dr. Rupika. And thanks to that, we've already started getting questions from the audience. So I'll just pick one. If someone faces these symptoms and they understand that these issues are occurring, they're told a lot of times in India that please manage it, please control your emotion, don't behave like this, don't snap out. Is that the right approach? Or what is your preferred approach?
Yes. So that, of course, is not the right approach, because if we suppress our emotions, they don't have a place to go. They all are cooping inside us, and somewhere we need that catharsis to let them out. And that happens either, as an explosion when you lash out, or you just burn out and you're not able to work, not do anything else. When emotions start piling inside, that is when mental illness happens. So there has to be therapy is one form in which there is release to emotions and you're able to express in a safe space. But even with friends that you are close to, and even in activities which help you relax, you need to have a repertoire of things that makes you feel okay, and puts you in a better headspace. And you need to do more of those things on daily basis. So we might talk about it later.
Yes.
But there are coping strategies which are very important, and they would be very personal to you. You might feel relaxed with something else, and I might with something else, but all of us need those on daily basis.
So in short, it should not be ignored, and we will discuss
Yes.
some of the strategies.
Yes.
And then just one more question we are getting, Dr. Rupika, is on, you mentioned certain symptoms. How do you differentiate whether they're from a physical illness, like similar symptoms appear in a diabetes or a hypothyroidism, for example,
Yes, yes.
or it's a mental health illness?
Yes. So if sleep is disturbed and there is irritability and low mood going on, then of course there should be, if there is an already existing some other comorbidity like diabetes and hypothyroid, check with your physician first. And they would also refer you to a psychiatrist if they feel that it is not because of, the fatigue is not because of low blood sugar, but it is a comorbidity, something else going on.
Right.
Okay. So it's always better to see both the physicians, or at least check in with your primary physician, and they might refer you and let you know according to their judgment.
Got it. And even awareness among GPs has now increased.
GPs. That's
Got it.
best
Okay.
thing.
So moving on to the next segment, Dr. Rupika, thank you so much for those amazing insights, is modern world addictions, right? The world has transformed, I would say, since 2010, roughly. And now, we're all binging on OTT, gaming, social media. So according to you, a lot of times people go to OTT or social media is to relax after a very hectic day. And a lot of these things, right, are used as relaxation techniques. So according to you, is this really an escape or a relaxation strategy, or turning into an addiction?
Sadly, it is turning into an addiction. Hopefully those who planned it out, or the way they thought it would impact people, they did not think of it that way. But when, like, we have all been through COVID, and at that time it was a place to feel connected and to meet like-minded people, and we were in isolation at that time. So social media does help people who are marginalized or who are isolated otherwise in life, who are going through something. They might find similar people, somebody who's going through depression. They might connect with somebody who has similar symptoms and feel heard and connected. So that is a boon for that person who is otherwise isolated, does not have supports in life. But if somebody who has, who has existing support systems, for them, a phone, like I said, it's easy to access. We have very good, amazing internet connection now. And it's easy to pick it up and scroll, and it instantly gives you the information that you want. So the addictive nature of gaming, for that matter, the reward it gives, the sensation of reward that we give from even online shopping, for that matter, it is so instantaneous that it's very difficult to not do it and not get hooked. And that is when we get into that pattern of, or habit of, wanting it again and again and again and again, and that disrupts your sleep, and it makes you cranky. And then you have, you are checking your phone in the morning to check for notifications and likes. That is how hooked you are. and we have to be mindful when that starts happening.
Got it. So, Dr. Rupika, just breaking it down a little bit, I have two tangents here I wanted to cover. One is on the science itself, right? So, if you can help us understand what is really going on in the mind. Why is the mind craving it more and more? Why is it really addictive?
So before going to addiction, I would just want us to consider one thing, that addiction is a tree and we might miss a forest when we look at somebody. Like, there are people who come to me with complaints that my son or my husband, my daughter has this kind of addiction. But it is often not the addiction, but there are a lot of things in the background that are going on. So the forest mostly is, there are high risk patterns going on. It could be anxiety, depression, somebody who's already going through a difficult time. For them, chances of being hooked to social media or something else that is giving instant reward is very high. So they are already high risk for that. Then there are certain individuals who have more novelty seeking. That means they like trying new things, or they are more impulsive. For that, it might just be a new thing to try. They might get hooked to it just because they wanted to try something new, and peer pressure again is something that might push them into it. So we see, when we look at addiction, there are some high risk factors. Could be an individual, could be a disorder already going on. Then the kind of coping they are already using. If somebody has good coping going on, their risk of addiction is very less. They might have a good support system, might be playing sports every day, very occupied throughout the day. So the chances of them spending a lot of time on social media or something else decreases, and risk of addiction decreases. But when these things are not there and risk is very high, then the easy thing to support or to distract is obviously already there.
Got it. So what you're saying is a backstory of addiction is
Yes.
also very critical,
Yes.
because addiction itself manifests from a number of risk factors.
Yes.
Got it. Got it. And you think, especially in the younger generation today, this entire pressure of being perfect, of appearing in a certain way, on different platforms, is also leading to a lot of stress.
Yes.
So, what are some of your tips for these sort of stresses and addictions, Dr. Rupika? What do you suggest to your patients? How because you can't let go of OTT, you can't let go of the phone,
Yes.
you can't let go of social media. So, what are the tips to actually keep it in moderation while using it?
So I see a lot of adolescents who are having a difficult time with there is social media bullying. They compare themselves with models and even other friends of theirs, and it's a curated reality, and that takes them on a whole cascade of emotions which they can't even communicate. They feel if they say all those things, they'll be bullied again. So what I discuss with them is that they understand when it starts affecting them. That is the first. If they are spending too much time on it, and if their emotions are getting way too much affected by it, to the extent that their studies are getting impacted, their sleep is getting impacted, they are avoiding their friends, they are avoiding school, that means they need to put a boundary to it and decide that I don't need this kind of interference to my emotions. Something external impacting your whole day, it's not worth it. So we try putting limits to it, that you keep a time in the day that you use social media. It could be 15 minutes, half an hour after your dinner, or just after your lunch or something like that. Avoid it in the evenings especially, because that is the time when you have to wind down. If you put anything stimulating in your brain, any information which you have no use for, it's just going to go on in the loop and it won't let you sleep. So it shouldn't impact your sleep is the first thing. So evening, no screens, limit social media use in the evening, and especially no phone use before bed, half an hour, 1 hour before bed. Second, overall intentional use of our time, that we know where my half an hour is going, where my 1 hour is going, and it is going according to my will and my control. That when I'm focusing on something, my whole focus, my 25 minutes are on that task. And when I take a break, then I see something else to distract. And that break is of 5-10 minutes. So we create an intentional use of time.
Got it. Very, very well said, Dr. Rupika. So, like we do it with kids, even for us
Yes.
adults, right? Different activities.
Yes.
And do you think the quality of content itself needs to be moderated, not just for kids, but also for adults?
Absolutely. Especially on Instagram and other sites, When you realize that there are certain, of course there are algorithms, there certain things keep coming which are bothering you, just put a, stop doing that with yourself. You have to control that, filter that content out. And even on YouTube, I hear a lot of people saying that I keep seeing these videos. Sometimes they change their account IDs and log in with another ID. So that is one way to do it, a bit drastic maybe. But there, you have to put filters on the content you are watching. And if you can't do it, you ask somebody else to do it. You can limit your screen time on the phone as well, limit app use on the phone as well. But that has to be done.
Right. I think some things are under your control, like the series you pick on OTT.
Yeah.
But some things, like, I was recently watching an IPL match, and I thought the ads that were coming between the various overs were all linked to either gaming or substance abuse.
Yes.
Or, objectifying things in a different way. So some things, unfortunately, are not screened, and then even our kids and adolescents, they get subjected to it. So well said, Dr. Rupika.
Unfortunately.
Now, just to talk about brain as an organ, right, and what is really happening in the brain and the science of it, right? So when we subject ourselves to such addictions, digital, social media, OTT, or even blue light for that matter from our devices, what is going on in our brain? And, like, as a psychiatrist, what is really the science behind this addiction?
Okay. So, do you want me to go with the sleep cycle and how that is impacted?
Yes, the effect of dopamine, or, the sleep cycle impact, yes.
Okay. So, we all need to feel rewarded for the things we do so that we keep doing them again and again. This is how we have learned all our behaviors through childhood, or that is how any training is done for that matter. So all of us need to feel accomplished in the day-to-day tasks that we do. Sadly, when we set into a routine, the chores that we do, they stop feeling as stimulating as they used to earlier. So we need a better stimulation, a higher stimulation to give that kick.
Like the exams for kids, right? When you get good grades.
Yes.
Yes.
So it is a challenge. So any challenge is a chance for growth, because there's a reward attached to it. So you grow up to that growth. Now, in day-to-day life, what are the stimulants that we can get easily? One is coffee, that is easily accessible to us. It gives a hit and then it crashes. So there are other stimulations like that which we need. It could be something we watch on television. It could be a horror show as well. Then it could be a sporting activity. So nicotine, any other substance, alcohol, all of those are a way for your brain to keep hooked. So they make you feel rewarded in the short term. And so what happens is when you drink alcohol, it gives you a sense of euphoria, which is short lasting. And a lot of times when we drink in company, there is that attached, pleasure, socialization and pleasure that we experience, which might be more because of the friends and company we have. But alcohol has been associated now with it so widely that we know that once ek baar drink kar liya, to I'll feel a bit better, I'll be a bit relaxed, which of course, again, chemically it will help you feel relaxed temporarily, and it will give you that euphoria. But the long-term effects are really hazardous. So that kind of effect our brain has learnt now, कि ये करने से ये होगा, and it wants it again and again. And if it is easily accessible, it is something that is attached to social, custom and socialization, then you would go on doing it. Now, something else, earlier, even now, tobacco use is quite common even now. That was also something people used to do in company, and playing cards as well. So those are, they were socially acceptable. So when you attach that, it makes you feel rewarded, it gives you a hit, and your brain wants it again and again, and you are, like I said, hooked to it. It could be anything else, shopping, it could be gambling, it could be any other substance, but it is similar way that these things work. It's a very simplistic version. Of course, there are many
I think, Dr. Rupika,
networks in the brain.
You've guided us in a very good direction, right? So what you're saying is the brain needs reward.
Yeah.
When we were kids, we used to give these unit tests and exams. Our parents used to reward us for good behavior, so that reward system was fulfilled. Also, life was simpler with lesser access to things.
Yeah.
Now, as adults, we have access to all of these things, and we seek reward from the wrong things a lot of times. In my personal life, I see that, I find that reward when I run, or when I indulge in some little bit of self-care, or when I make a craft till completion with my kid. So, is it possible that you can find these healthier means of rewarding yourself so you stay away from the evils?
Yes, so these are very healthy coping mechanisms, and we need to put them in place beforehand so that you don't feel the need for any other stimulation. Of course, these are difficult, and your brain would take some time to train itself that I can feel rewarded in this, and I can do this easily. Because anything that is not accessible, a bit difficult, your brain would initially try to not do it. It will procrastinate or it will give excuses. But we have to change that narrative. Second, for some individuals, it might be more difficult to the state they are in. Like I said, when you are going through a depressive episode, it is very difficult to try something new or to actually move out of bed and start walking or jogging or pick up any craft work. That is something they really can't do. That is when people start drinking or start passively consuming social media a lot, and they stay in the bed and there's no help available. They go through their depressive episodes like that, and it worsens. So it is very important that we identify people around us who are going through that, because they themselves might not recognize it in that moment. And alcohol dikh raha hoga ki bottles padi hain and they are in that state, but like I said, in the background it might be depression which is not letting them actually move out of the bed.
That's a great point, Dr. Rupika. So earlier you mentioned how to recognize symptom for the self, which is, you said, stomach pain, headaches, body pains, irritability, inability to sleep easily. Now you're saying that it's also important and very critical point to recognize these symptoms in your surrounding, in people around you, be it at work or in the family, among your friends. So what are those top 3-4 things that you think are the red flags, and then how should one approach with that conversation?
Yes, so red flags would be, first, again, sleep, that you recognize this person is not sleeping properly and they are getting up early, or they are just not sleeping at night, very late at night they are sleeping. Second would be that they are aloof, they are not interacting as much, and they have decreased contact with close friends and family. They are not responding to messages, they are avoiding contact basically. So when somebody's prolonged interaction has decreased, that means something is going on there. Third would be outbursts like anger outbursts, irritability, just not seeming like their original selves, not doing the things they would previously do, like skipping work or skipping their normal routines. It could be meals as well, skipping meals, and appetite decreased. So these are some, we call them biological functions. Biological functions include sleep, your appetite, your bowel, bladder, like your motions and urine, and also sexual functions. So when these 4 are impacted, that means the severity of symptoms is more than moderate. And that is when definitely the symptoms have set in and you need to act.
And if I see this in a friend or a relative or a family member, how do I approach this conversation? It's a very tough conversation.
Yes.
So how do you suggest one approaches the conversation with that person that you need to seek help?
So when it has to be very non-judgmental, and pick something that maybe that person might recognize has changed and is something that is precious to them. If they enjoy something and they are not doing it now, that might be something you can talk about, that I have noticed you have not been going out to meet this person. What happened? You have not been going to the gym, you haven't been eating well, sleeping well. Can you tell me what's going on? Feel free to talk about it. Okay, never pick up substance first, that why are you drinking so much, why are you smoking so much. That puts the other person in a confrontation mode, that the other person does not really know what's going on and they want to challenge me, so they'll never open up after that.
Got it. Great tips, Dr. Rupika. I think all of us can think of that 1 or 2 persons in our life who we'll have that conversation with in the right non-judgmental way. Thank you so much. Okay then, so now moving on to, and before I do, I'm seeing notes from my team on some questions we are getting in the chat. The main one here, Dr. Rupika, you covered on caffeine or coffee a little bit, so people are curious if that is also considered to be an addictive substance or something that is used for the reward function.
Yes, caffeine addiction is also noted in a lot of studies, and again, it is a stimulant, and we have to be very mindful how much we consume in a day. A lot of people even experience jitters and tremors. So anything that is a stimulant, it will increase your heart rate, it will increase your respiratory rate, it will activate your brain in a way that you feel restless, your body becomes restless. So there is an optimum alertness, and beyond that there is jitters. So especially in the evening, it has to be avoided after 4 p.m., after 3 p.m., so that it does not interfere with your sleep. We call it addiction when it starts affecting your daily life and you are not able to stop the urge to have it. You lose control over it and it starts impacting your sleep.
Got it. And for people at work in the corporate world, Dr. Rupika, have you seen that there are some specific mental health issues that may not be very aggravated, but they're very prominent or very prevalent?
Yes. So, sorry for repeating this again, but sleep disturbance is very common.
Got it.
Especially because of the kind of hours people work, and there is no, sometimes there is no routine, and they are having dinner at 10:30, 11 after a meeting, and then taking a call after that. So if you are just having your dinner half an hour before your bed, that puts you in a, you won't be able to sleep just half an hour after your dinner. And if you are taking a call just half an hour before your bed, again the call is going on in your head, it won't let you sleep. There has to be at least a 2 hour winding down period when you end all this and prepare for bed. Let your brain prepare for bed. Something that I was pointing out earlier, anxiety again presents as a lot of physical symptoms in adults, and it could be so along with the whole no routine for meals, caffeine, cigarettes, all this going on, disturbed sleep leads to a lot of gastrointestinal symptoms that we see, belching, constipation, feeling gassy and acidity. That is very common. Second, of course, is these panic like symptoms where they start having breathlessness and anxiety, heart racing and the throat going dry. All these when they have some big stressful thing going and on top of their head, because their brain is just overheated, it's not able to handle all that much. So panic attacks, anxiety, and sleep disturbances, depressive symptoms, these are very commonly we see, especially with physical symptoms.
Got it. And I think it's a double whammy, right? Because a panic attack and a heart attack portray very similar symptoms.
Exactly.
And heart attacks are also growing in, leaps and bounds in the country. So very critical to sort of assess the root causes early on.
Both are very closely interconnected. Stress or anxiety is a very big risk factor for cardiac conditions, and again goes circle as well that cardiac conditions also secondarily lead to depression and anxiety. But what we see day in and day out, that the stress levels are so high and your nervous system is so activated that the heart rate is always high. So your heart is overworking, right? That will exhaust it.
Got it. So if you had to lay out an ideal plan for a day for someone working in a corporate between 25 to 45 years of age, I know there's no ideal in the world, but what will be your top change points or inflection points of the day that you'll recommend to the people?
So if it is possible to have a routine, have a structure to your day where your work ends at a time and then you are at home at a time, so that your environment is like a cue for the brain that this is the space where I'm focused and this is the place where I have to rest. You need to give as many cues as possible. It could be lighting, that your overhead lights are there where you're working, and dimmer lights where you're not working or where you're winding down. Third would be meal times should be very clear, and there should be at the same time every day. Again, as a cue for your brain that this is the time when I have to focus and this is the time I have to, be alert. Some sort of exercise, even if it is for 15 to 20 minutes in a day, could be walking, brisk walking, climbing stairs, aerobics, whatever it is, but try to do it at least 5 times in a week. And that it has, I think every doctor that you meet would tell you this, that there is a tremendous impact on all parts of our body of exercise. And the exercise is an antidepressant, and it improves your mood, it improves your sleep, and it puts you in a better space for every task that you do.
And any exercise is good, right? Whatever
Any
you
exercise, especially if you are, there is some exertion there, that is good. And last but not the least, sunlight is very important. Very difficult for us to get in urban spaces, but at least half an hour, not I mean half an hour is a lot, but morning time sunlight, not the scorching one. If you get even half an hour of sunlight, that sets your sleep cycle in place, and in the evening your melatonin gets built up to an extent that it helps you sleep. So if there is no sunlight exposure at all, your brain is not able to differentiate what is day and night, because we are under lights the whole day, and there is no other
Stimulant.
no other stimulant, no other thing like sunlight which is more potent. So if we are under lights the whole day, there is no day and night for our brain. When you expose yourself to sunlight in the daytime, it keeps that cycle ticking, and your whole biological clock runs on the sunlight. It keeps all your hormones in place, your sleep in place, every other mechanism in body in place.
Great. And as you said, then putting sublimits on the various
Yes.
addictive practices.
Yes. If you sleep on time, everything, every addictive practice stops.
Great, Dr. Rupika. Great to know. We did an earlier podcast on sleep and its impact, and you can't agree enough that sleep is the number one
Yes.
critical parameter here.
Yes.
Great. Now we'll cover a very taboo topic, which is men and mental health, right? So we're two women talking about this, and for women it's okay to cry, it's okay to snap out, to have a dull day and all of that, right? But for men, they have to seem to be strong and the stronger gender, and unfortunately we have seen that it goes south because they have to put up a stronger face even when they may not be at their best mentally. So what is this entire myth around men and mental health, and what is your take on it, Dr. Rupika?
The symptoms are actually quite severe in men, and they often don't come up and take help, because like you said, the taboo still exists, and
Correct.
they feel if they talk about it, it's a weakness. And I see a lot of them, even I see it in families, that they feel judged if they have spoken about it, that this is nothing, you have to play
Strong.
your role, you have to be strong for the family, you have to you have to be the financially earning person, you have to be more responsible right now, you can't become weak. Weak is the word I hear so much, that somewhere having any mental health concern is equated to some sort of weakness, and you can't be that person. So they don't show their vulnerability, they don't feel it's okay to even talk to their friends about it. They are constantly comparing. Again, the social media is a big factor here, but they compare their assets or other things and feel they are not good enough, and they don't put themselves in a vulnerable position. And when I see a lot of men during my consultations, they haven't spoken to anybody for a very long time or never expressed their emotions. They feel that is completely normal to have never said anything to anyone, never cried. Now, what can you do about it? It's a whole new thing that you have to tell them it's okay, that you can express yourself. And there are ways to do that. And we often call their spouses or their friends together so that we do couple sessions together. But the severity of mental illness is very high in men. And when they have it, it becomes really difficult. They don't seek help. And the suicidality is also very high. The symptoms become very critical.
And what are the symptoms in men which are a little differentiated?
So, see, a lot of thought patterns that go on in men, the negative thought patterns, the more related to their own guilt and not being able to do much. And they have a lot of physical symptoms as well. So when your emotions are internalized and not expressed, they get converted to physical symptoms. They show up with panic attacks. They have these gastrointestinal symptoms, body aches, fatigue, and headaches, vague complaints of pains anywhere in the body. Then a lot of times the negative thoughts are to the extent that they don't feel any meaning in living, and that we see a lot, because they become severe very quickly.
So I think the guilt factor sort of takes over here. And have you seen skin issues also as a symptom in men and women because of mental health issues?
We see a lot of dermatological conditions.
Such as?
Eczema is very common. Acne again is very common. Skin picking is something we see a lot with anxiety. A lot of people who have anxiety conditions, they pick their hair or skin as a, it's a sort of soothing behavior for them.
So do you think it's linked to anxiety or also OCD, or do you think it's?
Can be both, can be, separately as well, it can happen.
Got it, got it. And to just see the percentage split between mental health in men and women in India, Dr. Rupika, just generally, what do you think is the split between men and women?
I don't think there is a split really. They are both equally, both of them
Okay.
have enough, maybe different kind of mental illnesses, but the prevalence is high in both of them.
Got it, got it. Okay, Dr. Rupika, I have notes from my team here. We are again getting a number of questions, so I'll just, shoot them one by one. Is it possible that someone has anxiety and depression together?
Yes, it is possible. A lot of times, depression can occur secondary to a long-standing anxiety disorder, and anxiety can also occur as a symptom, as part of depressive syndrome.
Okay. And when do you prescribe medicines to patients, and when can a person just do with therapy?
Yes. So, like I mentioned earlier, there are certain biological functions, which the sleep is one, appetite is one. And when functionality, especially, is so derailed that you're not able to do any of your daily chores, that is when we think it's better to cut short that period with medication, especially to help with sleep and to improve the overall, functionality faster.
And then do these people get off the medicine, or is it lifelong?
Yes, so that is the third point. There are a lot of cognitive symptoms. What I mean by cognitive is that you are not able to pay attention, you are having memory impairments, you can't focus on what you're doing. So when you're having that and you're overloaded with negative thoughts, you can't really focus on therapy. You can't really talk to a person when you're not paying attention. So we want you to come to that state with medication and then start therapy. And in therapy, you learn ways to cope and understand your stressors and triggers. And when you have learned the techniques, then is the time when you start tapering the medication, because now you're equipped with other ways to deal with your stressors and your condition. There are also certain illnesses which might be more biological, where the need for medication is more.
Got it. And just before I go to the next question of the audience, you mentioned therapy, Dr. Rupika. So just rang a bell. I've been to UK and I've seen every person there has a therapist and a dentist. I was very amazed, right? Yes. In India, we see less than 1% people seeking therapy. What is really the right balance? Do you think everyone needs a therapist?
There's no harm in doing that. If you have access and if you can, approach somebody, that there's nothing better than that. Because right now, at least while I went through my schooling, we did not learn any life skills or coping skills in my schooling, and that I see with most people that I talk to, that I'm not equipped to handle. I'm supposed to figure it out when stressors are overloaded at me, and I don't know what else to do. So whatever is easy, whatever is something, maybe I know yoga from before, so I might try it, but it might not work for me right now. So learning skills, and especially to understand your own thought patterns that have built since your childhood, and you need to change them. That self-awareness is what you learn in therapy, and you get techniques to balance all that.
Got it. Okay, so then moving on to more questions from our audience, Dr. Rupika. If my mother or father had mental health issues, am I necessarily going to inherit them?
No. So there is... again, not all mental illnesses have a lot of inheritability. Some have very high inheritability. So we do the assessment, and we generally, there are other psychological factors, social factors, which would trigger an illness. So if somebody's father, mother has an illness, does not mean necessarily they'll have it. There are ways to prevent it.
Got it. And how much, this is an interesting one, how much alcohol is safe to not cause a mental health issue?
0.
I think people are not going to be happy with that answer, Dr. Rupika. Okay, Dr. Rupika, I think there are many questions, but I'm sure my team will address those, while I have 2 last questions for you. One, as a psychiatrist and dealing with this day in, day out with hundreds of patients, what are the things you've incorporated in your life to keep your mental health at bay?
Okay. That's a personal question. So I like reading. And that is something since my childhood I have found it to be a relaxing part of my day. So when I recognize I'm overwhelmed, I pick up a crime, mystery or murder investigation sort of book, because it allows me to transport into some other world and be mindful there, and get some space to think about other things going on. Writing is something that helps me a lot, and I suggest it to a lot of people to write down the thoughts that are going on in their mind. It could be in the morning or it could be at the night. Just dump those thoughts in some form so that you get better perspective once they are written down on the paper. Caffeine, I never take it in the evening, afternoon.
Thank God you said
Sleep.
I never take it in the evening, because I was going to think you never take caffeine, which would have been.
Yeah, that also I have tried, but sometimes you have to take it. But sleep also I'm very particular about.
Got it. And as a psychiatrist, what are your top 2 or 3 tips for the world, or a happier world?
I think I have already said a lot of things. Never compromise on your sleep. Be non-negotiable about it, whatever might happen. Second, be very mindful about the things that you're consuming. It could be written material, it could be content that you're watching. If something is bothering you, there's no point letting it affect you even more, because a lot of those things might not be true, might not be relevant to you. They are just causing disturbance in your mind. Third, when you start feeling not so okay, and you are feeling irritable, not like your own self, try doing things, try learning new skills. So when you learn new skills, they make you feel rewarded and accomplished. So that might put you in a better space, make you motivated, to try more different things later on. Some form of exercise every day should be there. It could be also meditation. I mean, both meditation and exercise, some form of yoga. And that's about it.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Rupika. I mean, my greatest learnings from this session were, of course, treating sleep at priority, and then building your own reward system so that the brain stops tricking you.
Yes.
Thank you so much for these wonderful insights and this amazing toolkit that you could deliver with such simplicity for our mental health and for the mental health of people surrounding us, Dr. Rupika. I'm sure our amazing audience will practice this in their day-to-day and take their mental health seriously. And a lot of people in the work life have joined us, so I'm confident that with better mental health, you even do better at work and in your careers and in your personal life. Thank you, Dr. Rupika, for sharing these wonderful case studies and insights with us. It was a real pleasure having you on Conversations with Zyla. Thank you to our wonderful, beautiful audience for joining us today. Until next time, on the next episode on Conversations with Zyla, I'll see you soon. Thank you.